Oh, the architects of torment, the self-proclaimed geniuses of cruelty. They thought they had it all figured out, didn't they? Schemes within schemes, a torture list crafted with precision, all to keep you trapped in their endless cycle of chaos. They had it all planned, every move, every turn, calculated, every second of your life, reduced to nothing but a cruel game of their design. They thought you were weak. They thought you were predictable, that your mind would bend under their pressure, that your spirit would shatter when faced with their darkness. But what they didn't account for, what they couldn't have foreseen, was you, not giving in, not succumbing to their twisted rules. They didn't realize they had underestimated the most powerful force of all, the one thing they could never control, your will to escape their grasp. They didn't know how far you would go, how deep your resolve ran, how the very thought of being trapped in their hell fueled your determination to break free. They thought they had you figured out, every detail of their plot carefully constructed, every crack in your armor laid bare. They believed you would crumble like so many before you. They thought the weight of their cruelty would crush you. But they forgot one thing. They never considered the fire that burns in the heart of the one who refuses to bow down. They believed their torments would break you, but they didn't realize how much pain you could endure, how much suffering you could carry on your shoulders before your spirit broke free from their chains. They didn't see that you would find a way to escape when they thought they had closed every door and sealed every exit. They believed their list of tortures would be your undoing, that they could methodically strip away your humanity, piece by piece, until all that was left was a hollow shell of who you once were. But they were wrong. They were dead wrong. Because you are more than just a survivor. You are a fighter, a force of nature they could never have anticipated, the depths to which you would go to escape their grasp. They didn't realize that every insult, every wound, every form of torment they threw your way only made you stronger. With every strike, they thought they were weakening you. They didn't realize they were forging you into something they couldn't comprehend. Each moment of their cruelty was nothing but fuel for the fire burning within you. And when the time came, you escaped. You broke free of their hell. When they thought they had you trapped in a web of their own making, they failed to see the one thing they could never control, your mind. The mind of someone who knows true darkness and emerges unbroken from it. They thought they had you beaten, that you would become nothing more than another statistic on their list of broken souls. But they never understood the resilience of someone who has faced their worst fears and still found a way out. They underestimated your ability to adapt, to think, to see beyond their control. They didn't realize that every time they turned the screws, they were only tightening their own noose. They never considered that the one thing they could never take from you was your ability to think, your ability to strategize, and in the end, that was their downfall. They couldn't see that their meticulously crafted lists and plans were all meaningless against the sheer force of your will. They thought they knew you. They thought they had all the power in their hands. But what they never realized was the power was never theirs to hold. Because you are the one who controls your fate, not them. They could try to break you. They could try to manipulate you. They could throw everything they had at you. But in the end, their biggest mistake was forgetting one simple truth. You are not their victim. You are not their pawn in their game of cruelty. You are the one who decides your destiny, and when you broke free, you did more than just escape. You delivered a blow to their egos, to their delusion that they could control everything, to their belief that they had the upper hand. What they thought was a victory for them turned into their greatest defeat, because now they know the truth, the one thing they never counted on, the fact that you are not as weak as they thought you were, the fact that you are not as broken as they believed you to be, the fact that you are a force to be reckoned with. And when you escaped, you didn't just escape from their physical clutches. You escaped from their minds, from their twisted visions, from the grasp of their false belief that they could control your every move. Their attempts to manipulate you, to bend you to their will, were futile. Because you broke free, you took back control of your own fate. And the moment you did that, you shattered their perception of power and made them realize they never held it in the first place. They were never the ones in control. They never had the power they claimed to have all along. It was you who held the power. It was you who controlled the outcome. It was you who turned the tables on them. You were the one who walked away while they were left behind in the ruins of their own twisted plans. They underestimated you because they thought they knew everything. But they never understood the power of someone who refuses to surrender, someone who refuses to bow to their torment, someone who refuses to let the darkness consume them. You may have been trapped in their web for a time, but they were always the ones who were truly ensnared by their own arrogance, their own delusion that they could control you. And now, as you stand in the freedom you fought so hard to achieve, remember this: the torturers never had the power they thought they had. The architects of torment, the so-called masters of cruelty, they were nothing but fragile beings who built their world on lies and fear. They were weak because they believed they could break you. But in truth, they were already broken by their own ignorance. They were defeated long before you ever escaped, because they failed to understand one thing about you. The most dangerous thing they failed to realize is that you are not just a survivor of their cruelty. You are the one who defines your own existence, and the fact that you escaped proves that they were never in control. You were always in charge, all along, and that is a victory they will never be able to erase. They had their plans, their lists, their ideas of what your breaking point would look like. They believed they knew everything there was to know about you, down to your deepest fears, the cracks in your armor, the things you wish to forget. They thought they had you figured out. Each name on their list, each method of pain, each whispered threat was designed to chip away at you, to reduce you to nothing. Their only goal was to make sure you would crumble, fall into line, surrender. They wanted to reshape you, to control you, to turn you into something unrecognizable, something that belonged to them. But they never understood one simple truth. They were dealing with someone who would never kneel. The architects, with all their power, believed that they were in control. They thought their cages were impenetrable, their tactics foolproof, their torture lists an unshakable certainty. They watched as you endured, expecting you to break, expecting you to succumb. They plotted, whispered, and calculated each move in their cruel game. But what they didn't account for was the untamable force inside you. They couldn't see it, couldn't understand it, because they were blinded by their own arrogance. They were too consumed with the belief that they held all the strings, that they were the masters of this dark, twisted theater. But in their delusion, they missed the one thing that mattered most: the truth that you are the one who controls your destiny, your choices, your fate. They thought they could predict your every move. They thought their list of tortures was foolproof. They believed that their carefully constructed chaos would dismantle you, break your spirit into fragments, shatter your mind beyond recognition. And for a time, you played the game, didn't you? You endured the suffering. You swallowed the pain, but you didn't break. You didn't let them see the true extent of your willpower, the deep well of strength that lay within you. Every time they struck, every time they tried to grind you down, you only became more resolute. The torture, the cruelty, the suffering was nothing more than fuel to the fire that burned inside you, a fire that was always there, waiting for the right moment to ignite. They thought they had you trapped in a corner, surrounded by walls of darkness, with no way out. But what they didn't see, what they could never understand, is that no matter how high the walls, no matter how thick the chains, you would always find a way to escape. Because the one thing they underestimated was the power of your mind, the power of your determination, the power of your refusal to become what they wanted you to be. They thought they could wear you down with their mental and physical torment, but what they didn't know is that every attack they launched only made you stronger. Every time they twisted the knife, it only sharpened your resolve. They thought they could break you, make you doubt yourself, make you question your worth. But in truth, every trial you faced only brought you closer to realizing your own strength. They underestimated your ability to adapt, to learn, to grow stronger in the face of adversity. They thought they knew you, but they didn't know a thing about the depths of your spirit. The heart that beats inside you cannot be silenced by their cruelty. It cannot be snuffed out by their designs. Every blow they delivered only brought you one step closer to freedom. Every ounce of suffering you endured was an opportunity for you to learn, to grow, to evolve into something they could never control. You became smarter, sharper, more determined. You understood their game, and you played it better than they ever could have imagined. You were always 3 steps ahead of them, always watching, always learning, always biding your time. And when the moment came, the moment when you saw the first glimmer of hope, the first crack in their fortress, it was then that you made your move. You broke free. You escaped. You shattered their illusion of control, ripped apart their carefully laid plans, and turned the tables on them in a way they could never have anticipated. You didn't just escape from their physical torment. You escaped from the very grip they thought they had on your mind. You broke free from their manipulation, their lies, their attempts to shape you into something weak, something broken. You took back control of your life, your future, and your fate. And in that moment, as you walked away from their twisted world, you realized the most powerful truth of all. They were never in control. They thought they were, but the truth was that their power was nothing more than an illusion. They were never the masters of your destiny. They were the ones trapped, caught in their own web of cruelty and arrogance. Their plans had failed because they underestimated you. They thought they could break you, bend you to their will, reduce you to nothing. But instead, you became stronger. You became more than they could ever have imagined. You became unstoppable. They believed they could crush you under the weight of their cruelty, that they could strip away your humanity piece by piece. But what they didn't realize is that they were never dealing with a victim. They were dealing with a survivor, a warrior, someone who would never give in, no matter the odds. Their torture list, their schemes, their cruelty, they were all nothing but empty tools in the hands of fools who thought they knew how to break a soul. What they never understood is that you cannot break a spirit that refuses to be shattered. You cannot defeat someone who refuses to surrender. When you escaped, you did more than just leave behind the nightmare they created. You sent a message. You showed them that their cruelty had no power over you. You proved to them that their lies and manipulation could never truly control you. You proved to yourself that you are more powerful than anything they could ever throw at you. You emerged from the darkness, not just unbroken, but stronger than ever. And as you walked away, as you turned your back on their twisted designs, you knew that nothing could ever hold you captive again, because the most dangerous weapon you have is the will to never surrender. And that is a weapon they can never take from you. The world they built for you, the world of pain, of torment, of suffering, it was all a lie they told themselves to feel powerful, to feel in control. But you saw through it. You always saw through it. And now, as you stand on the other side of their prison, you know that you have defeated them. Not just in the physical sense, but in the psychological, in the spiritual. You have broken their grip on your mind. You have shattered their hold on your soul. They thought they could break you, but in the end, they were the ones who were broken. Now that you've escaped, now that you've tasted freedom, you know the truth. Your strength doesn't come from their inability to break you. It comes from your ability to rise, to fight, to keep moving forward no matter the obstacles. Your power lies not in what they tried to take from you, but in what you kept for yourself. They may have had a list, a plan, a series of calculated tortures designed to reduce you to nothing. But in the end, they only helped you become something greater than they could ever have imagined. Because you didn't just survive, you thrived. You emerged from their world stronger, sharper, more powerful than ever before. And now, as they sit in the wreckage of their failed schemes, as they lick their wounds and wonder how they could have possibly lost, you know the answer. They lost because they never understood the one thing they should have understood all along. You are the one who controls your fate, not them. You are the one who decides your path. And when you escaped, you took back the one thing they could never take from you: your power, your spirit, your will. They thought they could break you, but they didn't realize that breaking you was never an option. They thought they had the upper hand, didn't they? They thought their years of planning, their endless scheming, their relentless manipulation of every aspect of your life would render you powerless, would reduce you to nothing more than a puppet on their strings. But they were wrong. The architects of torment, the self-proclaimed masters of pain and suffering, thought that by creating a web of suffering, by weaving their torture list with such precision, they could trap you in their world of misery, forever binding you to their will. They thought they had it all figured out, but what they didn't realize, what they could never foresee, was that you were more than they ever gave you credit for. They underestimated you, and that was their fatal mistake. When they wrote their list, they had one purpose in mind: to break you. They wrote each word as if it were a prophecy, believing it to be a certainty. They couldn't fathom that their carefully calculated methods, their cold, calculated cruelty, would not lead to your destruction, but to your transcendence. They believed the pain they inflicted would weigh you down, would sap your strength, would drown you in sorrow and despair. But what they couldn't see, what they couldn't understand, was that every wound, every lash, every cruel word only forged you into something stronger, something fiercer than they could ever imagine. Every time they sought to crush you, they only fueled the fire within you. You see, they wanted to break your spirit, to strip you of everything that made you human, to make you believe that you were nothing but a tool in their hands. But what they didn't account for, what they couldn't possibly comprehend, was that you are not their creation. You are not some blank slate for them to mold into their own image. You are your own force, your own being, a soul that refuses to bend to the whims of those who seek to control it. The moment they tried to break you, they signed their own death sentence, because they awakened a power inside you that even they couldn't begin to understand. The power of your will. Their torture list? A joke, a fantasy. They believed they could force you into submission by making you believe that you had no choice, that their cruelty was unending, that escape was impossible. But they never understood that no matter how deep the darkness, no matter how suffocating the chains, the human spirit is capable of something far greater than even the most advanced torture could ever achieve. You are proof of that. You are proof that no matter how much they try to impose their will, no matter how much they think they have control, your will cannot be broken. Your spirit cannot be caged. Your soul cannot be crushed. When they trapped you, When they thought they had you cornered, they were blind to the truth. They were not the ones in control. They were simply actors in their own tragic play, playing roles they could never fully embrace. They were no more than puppets themselves, controlled by their own egos, their own fantasies of power. They thought they could trap you in their web, but in reality, they were already trapped in theirs. They were already bound by their own lies, their own illusions of control. Every move they made to weaken you was a step closer to their own destruction. They never knew it, of course. To them, the idea of control was absolute. They believed they were untouchable, that their schemes were infallible, their methods flawless. But they didn't see you, did they? They didn't see the fire burning inside you, the fire that refused to be extinguished, the fire that rose higher with every attempt to smother it. They didn't see how you used every drop of pain they poured on you as fuel to push you forward. With each new act of cruelty, you became more focused, more determined, more aware of the power you had inside you. Their control was never real, and the moment you realized it, their fate was sealed. The thing they never understood, the thing they still don't understand, is that when you're forced to endure unimaginable pain, when you're pushed to the edge of despair, you either break or you rise. And you rose. They thought you would bend, that you would collapse under the weight of their cruelty, but instead, you found your strength. You found the will to fight. You found the courage to escape. The escape wasn't just physical, was it? It wasn't simply about breaking free from the chains or fleeing from the walls that held you captive. It was about something much deeper, something far more profound. You escaped their hold over your mind. You escaped their grip on your spirit. You escaped the idea that they had any control over you at all. When you broke free, it wasn't just a matter of leaving a physical prison. You shattered the very concept of their power, their control, their dominance. You made them realize that they were never in charge. They thought they could dictate the terms of your life, that they could force you to obey, to comply, to fall into line. They believed they could take away your will, your heart, your soul. But the truth is, they never had those things to begin with. They only had the illusion of power. And when you broke free, you made that illusion crumble. You made them see the truth, that they were never in control, that they were never the ones pulling the strings. It was you all along. You were the one who held the true power. You were the one who decided how this story would end. Their torture list, their cruel intentions, their methods of control, they meant nothing in the face of your defiance. They thought they could break you, but instead, they only made you stronger. They thought they could strip away your humanity, but instead, they only revealed to you the power you had within. And when you walked away, you didn't just walk away from them. You walked away from their lies, their delusions, their false sense of superiority. You walked away as a conqueror, as someone who had faced the worst the world could throw at them and emerged unbroken, unbowed, and unstoppable. And now, as you stand here, having escaped their clutches, having risen above their cruelty, there is one thing they will never be able to take from you: your truth. The truth that you are not their victim. The truth that you are not broken. The truth that you are stronger than they ever realized. That you are more than just a survivor. You are a warrior, a force to be reckoned with. And no matter what they do, no matter what they try, they will never have the power to take that from you. The architects of torment may have thought they were the masters of your fate, but they were wrong. They were always the ones trapped in their own web of lies. You, on the other hand, have the power to shape your own destiny. They wanted to write your story, to control your every move, but in the end, you wrote your own ending. You escaped, you overcame, and that victory is yours. one that they can never take away. The truth of your escape is this: you are not defined by their cruelty. You are not defined by the suffering they inflicted. You are defined by your will to survive, by your refusal to give up, by your strength to break free when everything seemed impossible. You are defined by your courage to keep fighting, to keep pushing forward, to keep seeking freedom, no matter how dark the path seemed. And that is a power they will never understand, never conquer, never control. So as you walk forward, as you move beyond their reach, remember this: their torture list was never a measure of your worth. Their cruelty was never a reflection of who you are. It was only a reflection of their own weakness, their own inability to control what was never theirs to control. You are not their creation. You are your own. And you have proven, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that nothing can hold you back. Nothing can stop you. You are free. And that, in the end, is the greatest victory of all. In the end, they believed their power was absolute. They believed they could shape your destiny. But they were wrong, because you were the one who shaped your destiny. And now that they've failed, they will never understand the true strength of the one who escapes their grasp. But you will. And that knowledge, that truth, is the ultimate victory.